Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of uranium. I'll look at the charts. I'll let you know what I see in the charts, and I will give you my financial opinion. Please don't use it as advice. And here we go. Let's do it. So this is the Sprott Uranium Physical Trust. We are, again, moving on sideways. Small little down day. We are in kind of a lull, which is fine. We have broken this to the upside. So I suspect that the breakout will be to the upside. Whenever this thing gets moving, and it could get moving very quickly, I would be an accumulator. We are in a bull market for commodities, so I would suspect that uranium is just in a little resting period. And usually things go into a dead period or resting period before a very big move. And let's hope that move is to the upside, and it's a big move to the upside. Now, looking at North Shore Global Uranium ETF, mining ETF, this thing has a bearish engulfing pattern, which means it could go lower. We are still experiencing selling pressure. And I'm just looking over here. We've got this big down day there. We've got another one there. We've got another bearish engulfing today. Someone is selling this off. So expect maybe a little bit more downside here. I hate saying that, guys. I hate it, but it's truthful. That's all I can do. A little more sideways action out of Bannerman today. It doesn't look horrible. We did break this kind of U-shaped pattern to the downside, though. Goviak's getting a little bit of a sell-off today. Here's my overly aggressive return move, but we are continuing to head a little bit lower today, and hopefully this support line can hold. Global Atomic, again, we tried rallying higher, and the sellers sold it back off, and this is a bearish piercing pattern, which means we could head a little bit lower. The sellers still remain. Forces Metals getting a little bit of a sell-off today. This is a bearish engulfing, which means we could head a little bit lower. Pierpoint Uranium, bearish engulfing, which means we could head a little bit lower. That's what I'm seeing in the charts. It has not reversed and headed higher yet. Deep Yellow chopping sideways, 1.8%. It's holding on to its gains, barely. Paladin Energy getting a little bit of a sell-off today. This is a bearish engulfing, which means we could potentially head lower. The sellers are still here, and they are pretty persistent with their selling pressure. Sky Harbor, this is a bullish engulfing, which means we could head higher on Sky Harbor. Next Gen Energy, we're right at the support line. We'll see if this holds. We've got a little down day today. Canalaska, another small up day today. It's just chopping sideways. Baseload, getting a little bit of selling pressure. I thought this was up today, but it looks like the sellers showed up and sold some off at the end of the day. Fission 3.0 getting a little bit more selling pressure today. This could head lower with that bearish engulfing pattern. I don't like seeing those. Fission Uranium right at support. We'll see if this support line holds in this ascending wedge pattern, which means usually they break to the downside and have a return move. Usually. Camco, looking at it, we still got sellers here, guys. Who is selling all this stuff? And it's, big selling pressure. This is a bearish engulfing of the ones before. It means we're going to head lower. And we're still throwing selling pressure days out there. And a little bit of selling pressure in Kazatomprom. This one doesn't look as bad. We'll see where that one heads. Peninsula Energy, again, selling pressure to the downside. Boss Energy moving sideways. Lotus Resources, I'm going to say this is a sideways movement, 4.41, just because of the opening and closing price is roughly the same. No buyers could push it higher in the open market. Uroy selling off. Again, it's still in this selling pressure mode. And what threw me into this selling pressure mode are these three big bearish engulfing patterns, which usually signifies a move lower. The sellers continue to sell this off on every rally. Encore Energy, it's basically flat today with the wick at the top, which means buyers came in, bought it up, and came back down. But the opening and closing price is contracting, which means hopefully we can find a bottom here very soon. UU has been on So sell mode. We are still selling off a little bit. We got a little bit more selling pressure today, and we have not found that bottom yet, at least not in the candlestick chart patterns. Same with URG. It's still selling off, and UEC is still selling off. This one is below its support line. We could see a further downside move in UEC. This does look like a shoulder, head, shoulder type pattern that we could potentially move, a little bit lower on it. Looking at LEU, Centrus Energy. This is not a mining company. It is I think they build nuclear. They build nuclear power plants. But there it is coming on back. It's getting close to support down here, but still more selling pressure. LTBR is contracting against its breakout line, so this is almost a full, complete retest for Lightbridge. ISO Energy still getting a little bit of selling pressure here, basically a flat day today. Appy Energy getting a little bit of a sell-off, not too damaging. Denison Mines, again, sellers are still present. We are still selling off. I do not see a reversal candlestick yet. Blue Sky getting a little bit of sell-off. This one, kind of looking at a big picture, this does have an ascending wedge, which means it could pull back even more. Forum Energy Metals is pulling back today. So we came up, and now we're getting a little bit of selling pressure and heading back lower. This is a big selling day, and it did finish quite strong. Anfield, again, just like the rest of the group, a little bit of selling pressure today. LMR, Laramide. Laramide's flat. Flat today, doesn't look too bad in comparison to a lot of the other companies. Western Uranium and Vanadium Corp continues to sell off. UEXCF, flat today, and Mega Uranium getting a little bit of a sell-off. What it looks like to me is that we are in a pullback. And I mean, that's quite obvious. We're obviously in a pullback. Is this pullback going to continue to pull back, or are we going to find a bottom here and head on higher? To me, looking at the candlestick patterns, whenever you see large candlestick down days and smaller up days, in terms of the opening and closing prices. So if you were to look at what I am seeing in this chart right behind me, is I'm looking for these big kind of patterns here, like that one. We've got nice big selling pressure there. And what I'm doing is I'm looking at the size of the opening and closing prices. And usually in an upward move, you get a big move higher, and then it comes back and consolidates, a move higher. And then you start seeing these bearish stuff mixed into it, where it starts to sell off. And I'm still seeing more selling pressure than buying pressure. And I'm looking at the size of the candlesticks, the opening and closing prices, how big they are in relationship to the up days. They're still showing up, which means sellers still exist in this stock. They are still there. And the relationship of sellers to buyers is out of whack in the seller's favor, which means prices will continue to head lower until you find an equilibrium between the buyers and the sellers. Usually when you find that equilibrium between buyers and sellers, your opening and closing prices start to contract down and they start to equal each other. You'll start seeing some up buying pressure days where you get big up days, and then the small down days means that the selling pressure ceases to exist, and the buying pressure is overwhelming it. So you get these kind of big moves up and then a slow pullback. Big moves up, slow pullback. It means you've got more people holding the stock than selling it. And you've got buyers continuing to buy. So I have not seen the bottom here yet. I'm looking for that pattern. I'm looking at the candlesticks, and I just don't, it doesn't exist yet. So I'm going to remain tight. I'm going to try to look for it. We'll continue to do these daily technical analysis updates. And when we get a reversal pattern, I'm sure you guys will know when it hits. You're probably going to see it sell off, and then a big old buying pressure will shoot that thing higher. It'll put a bullish engulfing or a hammer pattern in, most likely. And that's usually the kind of an end of trend type movement. And people usually get scared. They'll kind of sell off a lot, and then buyers come in, buy it all back up, and they'll create either a hammer pattern or a bullish engulfing pattern or a bullish piercing. Some of them are very big. They got massive kind of bottom movements. Looking at this chart behind me, if you guys want to see what a bullish engulfing is, this is one right here. This is a bullish engulfing right here, this green candlestick engulfing the one before it. It's fully engulfing that. Here's another hammer pattern as it came up, and then we threw another hammer pattern. This was going to be a short-term move higher. We moved higher, and then we encountered a little bit of selling pressure. So I'm looking for a bullish type pattern. This one here is a bullish piercing, which means it could head higher for mega uranium. But remember, this is one in a whole bunch that are not exhibiting it. So what I like to see is the entire sector putting in a bottom. Then I start piling into my favorite companies. If only one company has it, I mean, the whole sector still remains pretty weak. So I'll let you know if I see, what I see each day. Give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you guys are interested in knowing my opinion, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.